Hi, my name's Kim and this is Kitty, and I'm an introvert that travels the world whilst being on a tight budget. And today we're talking about how travel can be the best education. There are loads of ways to learn, from watching YouTube videos to reading books, listening to audiobooks, going to school, university. But to me, I think one of the best ways to learn is to travel. You don't just learn intellectual knowledge, but you learn like real life practical skills, and you actually learn a lot about yourself as well. Things that, you know, any sort of, I guess, formal education could teach you. But I hear you say, Kim, I read loads of self-help books, like I know myself deeply. But the thing is, I know myself too, and do you know how I learned all that? By travelling. I've got a whole video that explains the mental health aspects of travel and how it can help you gain confidence, be better in yourself, just generally be a better person. If you want to watch that video, I'll be putting some iCards up there, or there'll be a link in the description. But beyond all that, beyond the sort of the mental aspects of it, you know, gaining confidence, things like that, what can travel actually teach you? I'm here to tell you. Experiences. So from the experiences that you gain from when you travel, so this may be things like once in a lifetime opportunities like swimming in the dolphins or visiting the Taj Mahal, or it can be like the more mundane things that you do when you're traveling, things that you wouldn't necessarily do in your real life, are the things that can really impact you when you're traveling. You learn sort of more practical life skills from traveling. So you learn things like how to approach people, how to talk to people, and the things that can really teach you the most are the more mundane things, like asking people directions to places. For example, I'm introverted and struggle to speak to strangers, but when you're put in a situation in a foreign country by yourself, you're kind of forced to do these things. Like, for some reason I was scared of going on a scooter but I went to Madrid and I went on a scooter because I was in a country, and if you're ever going to do something that pushes you out your boundaries and teaches you new things, you may as well do it when you're abroad. And if I wasn't abroad, I would never have done that. So travel kind of teaches you to not just be more comfortable and confident with yourself by doing things like talking to strangers, but it can like push you into doing things you never thought you could do, taking risks. And I know a scooter ride doesn't sound like taking risks, but for me it was like, you know, a big deal, I guess, because it was something that I wanted to do but I'd always been too scared to do. Languages. So you want to be a polyglot, and it's not an insult, it's the name for somebody who can speak more than 2 languages. So you can learn things like languages from computer or apps like Duolingo, or, you know, from a book. But the thing is, there's nothing like actually going to the country that speaks that language and learning how, you know, the changes in the tempo of how you speak and the slang of the words. These are things that you won't necessarily get from a book like, you know, German for Dummies. These are things that you'll only get when you go and experience the culture and the language. And you can learn more in depth about the language that you're speaking and be able to speak it like more like the people who speak it every day. You know, you can get the accent. You don't really learn accents from books and stuff. So if you're interested in traveling and want to learn a new language, the best way to practice is to go travel. Cultures. So learning about other cultures and more about other people makes you a more empathetic and tolerant person. So knowing more about people beyond just the bubble that you live, and knowing about what other people do, how other people sort of react to things, what are in other people's cultures, means that you can come at things from a different perspective than you could have when you just were in your own sort of space. This can be done just by traveling to a different part of your own country. You don't even have to travel abroad. For example, I live in Wales, more specifically South Wales, and the culture between South Wales and North Wales is quite different. So travelling to North Wales, I'd be able to learn about what they do and how they do things, and I might be able to learn things from them that I'd be able to implement into my life and make me a better person. The more varied the culture is from your own, the more likely you're able to learn more things. So if you went to a country and the culture is vastly different, you'd learn a lot more. So basically it's the things that sort of like separate us, we learn more, but at the same time there are always aspects of cultures that are the same. So we can kind of be united in that sameness, but also learn from the differences, because it's those things that sort of like create sparks and like good human connections. Because if you went out with somebody, your partner now, they're not the same as you. You have things in common, obviously, but you're not the same person. It's those differences that like teach you, and you learn and you grow and you get to be a better person from learning from them. And things that you might consider like faults in yourself, they can kind of help you get through it. And it's the same with traveling and learning from different cultures. Things that you want to change or want to grow about yourself, you can learn from other cultures and then bring into your own life. History. So you like it? I learned history at school, so I don't need to learn anymore. The thing is, I did a GCSE in history, so you know, I'm kind of like above average knowledgeable in history. But the thing is, can I remember much of what actually happened in history classes in school? Not really. But do you know what I do know about? Greek history. And why do I know about Greek history? Because I've been to Greece so often, I've been like immersed in the history and the culture of it. You know, you go to museums and art galleries and landmarks and things like that, and the more you see these things, the more you learn about the culture. Whereas when you're in school and you're reading a book, you know, it's just words in your head and then the words go out your ear and the words are gone. For me anyway. Things don't like to stick in my head very well. I'm a very sort of like doing learner, kinesthetic I think it's called. So I learn by doing. So for me, traveling is the best way to learn things. And if I wanted to learn about a history of something, the best way that I could do it is by going to the place and immersing myself in the place. And I can't see that being any better of a learning experience than actually being there and doing and seeing. So if you want to know more about a culture, go to the country, experience it, taste the food, see the places, go talk to the locals. You're more likely to get a more genuine story of how it actually happened than what can be sometimes like slightly skewered history in the books we learn. Food. So by eating in other countries, obviously we learn more about their cuisine and about, you know, the culture and things like that. But beyond that, it's more like a sort of a life learning experience. What I mean by that is, when I was 18, I went abroad and I stayed in a self-catering hotel for 2 weeks, and I'd never had to sort of depend on myself to do things before. You know, my mum went food shopping, she made food, maybe I'd occasionally make food for myself, you know. I'd bring the washing downstairs, but ultimately somebody else would do all that for me. And these 2 weeks that I stayed in this self-catering hotel, having to like partly tidy my own area, because the maid used to come in occasionally and like sweep the floor, but nothing major, and having to prepare my own food and, you know, organise my own time. It wasn't anything I'd ever had to do before. And I learned a lot in those 2 weeks. I learned that hot dogs aren't necessarily a good thing to eat in the morning. And you can't really ideally sustain yourself on a week full of noodles. Going travelling and experiencing these things and doing things independently, and, you know, even if you travel by yourself or if you travel in a group, there's always sort of learning experiences, things that you can learn when you're traveling that you can take into your real life. And it can be things like how to prepare food properly and not survive purely on noodles, or it can be things like, you know, how to better organise your stuff when you're abroad so you can find it, so you can pack it better, so you can bring it home, and then when you're home you can take those organisational skills into like your own practical life. Like there's loads of little things you don't really think about that you can learn when you're travelling. Money. So travelling teaches you beyond just budgeting, but more about the economy and what happens there. So, for example, on December the 12th, 2019, the UK had a general election, and the Conservatives were voted in as a majority government. This favourably affected the US dollar against the UK pound. Why? I'm not entirely sure, but the thing is, you can kind of keep an eye on what's happening in the world, and you can kind of predict when is best to buy your money. So because we got a majority government, for some reason, like I said, it became favourable to us to buy US dollars. So that's what I did. I went out and bought US dollars because they were cheaper for me. And if you kind of keep an eye on what's going on in countries, you can kind of predict when's the best time to buy stuff by keeping on top of news and following economies. Like, it won't always work, and I'm not an expert on it by like a long shot, but it's something you learn more. You can kind of get a feel for it ish, you know, when may be the best time to buy your foreign currency. But beyond learning kind of about the economy and keeping on top of news and things like that, it can teach you budgeting. So I've done quite a few videos on budgeting, and what I'm going to do is put some iCards up for 2 videos that I did that were based around budgeting and how to save money when you're traveling and how to save money when you're booking to travel. I'll also put them down in the description down below, so that kind of goes more in depth in the budgeting part of it. But essentially, traveling teaches you how to better spend your money, how to better sort of organize your money. To go traveling, you need to save money, and to save money, you need to budget. When you go traveling, you need to have money to take with you. To have money to take with you, you need to save it. When you're traveling, you need to know how much money you need to take with you. So you're doing research into how much things are in the country you're going, how expensive it is. So you're learning more about the economy of the country that you're going to. And then when you get there, you know that you've got this amount of money to last you all the time that you're there. So again, you're budgeting, seeing, oh well, if I do this today, then I might not be able to do that tomorrow. But if I save money on this, I can do that in a few days' time. Friendships, relationships and networking. There's no doubt that traveling can make you a better person. Like I've said, from learning about people's cultures and being more tolerant of people, or traveling by yourself and just learning more about yourself because there's no sort of noise of people around you. There are loads of ways how traveling makes you a better person, not just for yourself, but learning about these things for yourself makes you a better person for other people as well. Traveling for the past few years have made me a more empathetic person, confident, resilient. I take more risks, but not terrible risks. I'm a more calculated risks that I wouldn't have taken before. It makes you just a better person for yourself because you feel happier in yourself, which means that you can be a better person for other people. And by speaking to people when you're traveling, that makes you more confident. But if you're trying to communicate with somebody with a different language, and you're having to figure out how to communicate with each other with this sort of barrier, it makes you a better communicator with people. So even if you're speaking to people in your native language, when you're back from traveling, you understand that you can communicate your points clearer because you had to do that when you were abroad. Not everybody knows the complex language that you're trying to speak, or you don't need to sort of make everything seem like it's more complicated than it is. And that makes you a better communicator to others because you can more quickly say your point to people in a clearer fashion. There are so many things it can teach you to do beyond just the video I discussed previously, your mental health and your own well-being. It teaches you education, it teaches you history, it teaches you economy, it teaches you how to cook, it teaches you how to budget. It's an all-round, multifaceted, amazing educator for your life. And you can be a better person and a better cook and a better at budgeting, everything. You're just overall a better person just because you travel more. So I hope you enjoyed that video and you found the things that I discussed really impactful or you know, it's something that you'd like to do in the future. If you'd like to share any of your own stories, let me know in the comments below, because I always like chatting to you. And the ones of you who are regulars, like, I really enjoy it when you come back and, you know, we have a little chat over what's going on and how you're doing and things like that. So even if you just want to like be like, oh hey Kim, how you doing today, and we have like a little conversation that's not even about travel, just comment down below. I really like to have a chat and get to know you all more. I make 2 informative travel videos a week, so if you'd like to learn more on travel, how to budget better when you are traveling, and just how it can better you, then don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell. I'm going to be putting 2 videos up on the side here. The first one is going to be the video that I discussed at the start, which is the one how travel can better your mental health. If you're feeling really pumped to start traveling now, I'm going to put my beginner's guide to traveling here. So anything that you need to know on what you need to do before you book to go traveling, watch that video. But I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you again. Enjoy your life. Ta-da! I can't wait to travel again, honestly. Like, when this is over, I'm well up for it. What does that mean? Oh.